Hey, everybody. I hope this Facebook Live or video finds you doing well. We're going to try and make this so that it brings all of me in. So, as you probably tell by the title and or by the description, I'm going to talk about President Trump and Brian Thompson. So, I refuse to tell you the name of the shooter. I'm not going to use his name because that I don't want to be making somebody popular who does not deserve to be popular. So I will refrain from saying the shooter's name. But let's talk about the biggest topic that's going on. This is almost when it comes to President Trump's legal problems. The New York State is going to walk out of this pretty much looking, well, laughable. The New York governor said, oh, Trump would have to show remorse to be pardoned in this case. Let me explain this so that a child can understand this. President Trump isn't going to will never show remorse for nothing, for no reason. There is never a good enough reason that Trump will ever show remorse. So, Governor of the state of New York, if you think that's going to happen, dream on. Do you sincerely believe that his legal problems are going to continue? He's the president of the United States. Keep dreaming. And for the state of New York, for everybody who in the state of New York was going to book up and say, well, let me show you what I can do, President Trump. Let me explain something to you. And that's been true ever since, from my understanding, it's been true ever since World War II. And I grew up being told this. I was told this from the first day I was born. And it appears to me that this is going to be true till when God calls me home. The President of the United States is the most powerful man in the world. We're talking about President John F. Kennedy. We're talking about President Carter, President Clinton, President Reagan. We're talking about President Bush, both of them, President Obama, President Biden, and now, again, President Trump. These men, when they're in office, they're the most powerful man in the world. And if you think that you and there in the state of New York, well, he's the most powerful man to everybody else, but not to us, keep dreaming. I am going to let you guys on something that President Trump isn't going to tell you, but when it all comes to light, yeah, at least no one can't say, well, Grandma didn't say that was going to happen. Because I'm telling you. Give me one moment here. When President Trump gets into office, understand, he's not going to say to his enemies, oh, geez, everything's forgiven. Why, it's a brand new day in the world. Happy-go-lucky all of us. All is forgiven. If you think that's going to happen, then I've got some oceanfront property that I'd like to sell you in Arizona. Okay? Because let me tell you, that's not going to happen. President Trump is going to do everything he can to come after those who made his life hard while he wasn't president, and is going to make their lives hard while he is president. And if you don't think that's going to happen, you're living in a different dimension that I don't know where you live. because it's not in reality. I'm telling you, the first day in President Trump's office, he's going after everybody who tried to put him away in prison and or in jail. It doesn't matter. You people are going to come to understand what I have understood from the first day of my birth, which is the President of the United States of America absolutely is the most powerful man in the world. And when you get done figuring this out from the way I'm seeing now, when you get done figuring this out, you're going to be wishing you were living in reality. Because reality is going to hurt. And that I can promise you. President Trump has already said that Hamas better hand over all of the hostages, both Israel and American and any other nation if they're in there. President Trump has said Hamas is supposed to hand over all the hostages, or when he became president, all hell was going to break loose. Let me reassure you, President Trump is not speaking his opinion just to hear his voice box rattle. When he said that, he meant it. He meant it in ways that nobody wants to know what he meant. But we're about to find out by no later than January 21st. I have no doubt on that. If it's any later than that, I would be surprised. But then again, he's got to be calculated, so it might be a little bit longer than January 21st, but it ain't going to be all that much longer. So, if people want to live in a pipe dream, y'all just go for it. I'm living in reality, and I think I know President Trump pretty good. I think I've studied enough psychology and observed President Trump to know that on January 20th, there's going to be a lot of people crying. And if they ain't crying by the 20th, don't worry, give it about a month. They will be then. Now, for the second issue I want to talk about, the murder of Brian Thompson. This was a horrendous, cold-blooded killing. The people who are praising this and the shooter, these people have serious psychological problems. They really do. This shooter is not a hero. Nothing I say in this live stream or video goes against what I have just said. The shooter is a cold-blooded murderer, and that settles it. He should receive capital punishment, the death penalty, for what he did. That is an absolute fact. What I'm going to do is take you a little bit behind the scenes here. The state of New York is not a death penalty state. They did away with the death penalty, and that settled it. The federal government, not liking that option, came in and they pressed charges against the shooter. He'll stand for trial for the state, and then he's going to stand for trial for the federal charges. My understanding is that they're going to want the death penalty, and they'll probably will get it. Any cold-blooded murderer, I sincerely do believe that they should get the death penalty. But while I believe that to be true, I would say this, that while they're in jail and or prison, while that they are alive, they should be afforded every opportunity that can be afforded to them to sit down with Bible study groups, to meet with a pastor, a priest, or whatever religious leader they want to. I would be probably go on the theory that it should be a Christian pastor. But they're whoever they want as a minister, during that time, they should have it. I sincerely believe that. But let's take a look at why New York and other states did away with the death penalty. Number one, it was based on a lot of people don't like the death penalty. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't like it either. As much as I'm for it, I don't like it. And that is the absolute truth. Taking someone's life should never be belittled. You're taking a life. That's very important. However, I still stand behind the death penalty. What they did, and this I believe was happening in the 70s, was they kept making the penalty for different crimes, lower and lower and lower. And then after they lowered the penalty for different crimes, then these people would be released back into society. And then the government would start with, hey, we've got a gun problem. No, we do not have a gun problem. What we sincerely have is a heart problem. And let me tell you guys this, and I know that some people may not believe it, but laws do not change people's hearts. Only God can do that. It's His will be done, not mine, not anybody else's. God's will be done. One moment here. And then they threw these criminals back up on us and hollering, well, we need gun laws. Like I said, we don't need gun laws. We don't have a gun problem. There's only a heart problem. And that too many people, and in Matthew, I think 24 somewhere, I think it says, the love of many would wax cold. And that's the problem. You see, there's certain prophecies that I don't think is once done and dead, and then that settles it. I think they can reoccur many, many times over. And that's one of them. What we got to do is get people back to love, which means bringing people back to God and letting God decide where He puts them, be it Christianity, Messianic Judaism, whatever He decides to do with them, it's got to be His decision. So that's the big problem. And the problem that I also have with this is Brian Thompson's life is extremely important. Extremely important. But I would say the same thing about anybody and everybody's life, is that all people, no matter your religion, no matter if you're conservative, liberal, super conservative, down the middle, doesn't mean, I don't care if you're a communist or a capitalist, nothing matters. What I have said matters. All life is important. And when you start saying, well, life of certain people are more important than others, that is quite an issue, because that's not true. I do not consider myself more important than other people. Life is extremely important. It is extremely important. But that is true of every person who's ever been born, who is being born, and who will ever be born. All life is extremely important. The only way we're going to stop cold-blooded murder is to not only bring back America back to God. That's step one, and that's the most important step. But it is to bring back the death penalty. Make cold-blooded murder death penalty cases. There is cases out there which the government has prosecuted, and I'm like, why are they prosecuting these individuals for? Because in no way was it cold-blooded murder. Especially when it comes to like the Menendez brothers. Their father was sexually abusing them. I mean, let's sit down and think about that. Their dad, the one who had power over them, the man who had power over them, and then think about this, the man who was supposed to show them real fatherly love, sexually abused his boys. I mean, let's sit down, let's really think about that for a minute. The man who was the boss of the family, who was seen as an authority figure, and also seen as the man who was supposed to show his boys proper love and just love, giving his kids a hug, giving them a kiss on the forehead, good night, tucking them into bed. The man who was supposed to show them love sexually abused those boys. Think about that for a minute. If anybody wants to find the fastest way to mess up a man's life, that's it. Being molested by your father? That's about one of the quickest ways to get her done. And not only, but it's also one of the quickest ways to get PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So we got to think about these things real deeply. I don't even know why the Menendez brothers were even in court. So, but when it comes down to hardened people killing another person, this has got to end. We've also got to end rape and child molestation. Death penalty can get that done. If teaching people about God's love can get it done, death penalty can. And I can promise you that's an absolute fact. So I wanted to go ahead and just come up on here, address those two issues with y'all about, President Trump's presidency and about this Brian Thompson case. I hope that everyone, even if you don't agree with me, I hope that you'll sit down and at least think about it. Think about it deeply. Pray about it. But also let's remember that what this cold-blooded killer is going to get, he justly deserves. If he's convicted, he justly deserves it. I love you all. God bless.